Hello and welcome to the Home and Learn video course for visualbasic.net. I'm Kenny Carney, and in the previous lesson we did subroutines. We set up our own subs. We do not return a value, functions do. We're going to continue with subs, something called parameters. Parameter, American spelling. Right, if I go down here, let's suppose we want to add up two numbers. Right, so I'll create a new one. Private sub. We'll call it add two numbers. We can't do empty round brackets for the time being. Like that. Let me add some variables. I'll put first. Why have I done that? Num as integer. What's it got? This num as integer. I'm gonna do dim second num, also an integer, and let's have an answer. Answer is integer. Yeah, suppose I want to add up those two numbers. It's just of course answer equals first num plus second num, and let's display the results in a message box. Get rid of that. Message box dot show the total is %. And so, right, suppose we want to add up 10, we'll put 20 in this other one. Might add two numbers, we'll get rid of that one. For button 3, we'll do button 3. If I wanted to call that one, I could call and then add two numbers. It's on the list, there it is. Add two numbers, round brackets. And if I tested that one out, button 3, wasn't it? So that's 30. Immediately though, you can see a problem with this one. It's only adding up these two numbers, 10 and 20. We would like it to add up any two numbers. Any two numbers. So how can we do that one? Let me get rid of this one. Well, you can add those parameters that I just told you about. You add parameters between round brackets of your sub. So you start with a variable name, and you can like first as, and then you need the type, integer. Then your second one, well, I have a second number. Again, this is just a variable name as integer. If you like here, this you can set up optional. Right, so optional second, but if you're setting up an optional, it needs a value. You might say optional second as 0. So the first parameter would be required, but the second one you wouldn't have to. But we're not setting up an optional, we'll just set it up. Right, so for this, have a look at the call-in line, add two numbers. Immediately you will see it's underlined with red, so there is a problem. And if I hold my mouse over, it says argument not specified for parameter first, and argument not specified parameter second. So in other words, you can't leave these empty. They've got to have some sort of values. You can type them out just as straight values like this, if you want to. We do this one first. And what do you think is going to happen if I do this now? It should have a value of 0. So why has it got a value of 0? That one and that one. Well, the problem is we haven't used these. We've passed the values over, so we're passing 10 over to the first number. It gets passed to that one. 20 gets stored into the second variable, but we're not doing anything with these. So you can just you can set this one first number to like first, and that one you can add second. So now that 10 gets passed to there, the first, and then we're using first, so we're using that parameter from there, and we're storing it into first number. Same with second, 20, then you get past the second, gets passed to here and gets stored here. And hopefully this time we should get the correct answer of 30. There it is, the total is 30. But you see here, you don't need to store this into another variable. If I commented these two out, and let me comment that line out, and put the answer there, I can use those two variables straight off the bat, as it were. First plus second. So you don't need to pass them over to a second variable if you don't want to. So first 10 there, and it'll get stored there, and then it gets passed over. 10 plus 6, see if it still works. Total is 30. Right. So that is parameters. As well as storing straight numbers here, you can also set up a variable and hand over another variable. So like this, first num, that equals 10. And now instead of placing direct 10 there, I'm going to have first num. So wherever is stored in first num, we're storing it here. If you notice, first num, it's totally different to the variable name we had here, first. But will it still work? Yeah, it will still work. So it doesn't really matter what it's called there, first num. So you can have a different name there, num. And the point of having a subroutine there, we might want to use that one again. So there's button 2. We can call that one again, so you don't need the call. And two numbers, we might add two different numbers, 20 and 30. We should get 50 this time. This was button 2, wasn't it? 2, total is 50. So that is the whole point of a subroutine. You set them up because you might want to use them again. So we can add two numbers from anywhere in the code, from any button. And we only have to type that just the once. So I wouldn't have to write separate code for button 3 and separate code for button 2. There is something else to be aware of with parameters. Well, I've got first there. You can add something called by val, just off the by value. That is the default, and the other one is by ref. So by val and by ref, by reference. And don't that one there. Let me show you some separate code. I'm going to pause the video and paste in some code for you to see. Right, so here's the code. I've set up another private sub called increment variable. I'm passing the variable called number 1. And I'm passing by val. I've got number 1 here. So say if I passed 10 to here, number 1 plus 1 would obviously be 11. So for this code on button 3, I've set up number 1 there, storing 10, and I'm calling this one call increment variable with that number 10. So number 10 gets passed over to here, and number 10 plus 1 would be 11. At least you think it would be. See what happens. 3, we still got 10. We still got 10. Quite apart from the fact that number 1 can't be seen from the button 3 because it was local to that variable, to that button. There is something else going on. So if I call this one here number 1, by the time it gets passed over, if you use by val, it will get passed copy. It gets passed a copy of this one. A copy of number 10 gets stored in there. But you might not want a copy. So for example, if you opened a large text file and it's say huge, it was megabytes and megabytes of data in that one. If you were to pass it over by val, it would be passing a copy of that huge amount of data over to here, which you don't want. because the memory problems with your program will be huge if you're passing around huge amounts of data. So instead, you can use by ref. What is it? That one. By ref. And now it passes a reference to this variable. It doesn't pass over the whole of the data. It just, if you like, points to this variable. The by reference will point to that one. In other words, you're not passing that huge amounts of data over to here. You're just pointing to that. And if you make changes to number 1, it should update number 1. Let me show you. But 3, see, it's 11. Now it has incremented the variable there. And it's incremented it because it's by reference. It's pointing to that one. It's adding 1 to there. And sending up here. For most of the subs and functions we're going to write, we're just going to leave that one off. So the default is by val, and that one is the default. So try not to worry about by val and by ref. And I think that is enough for this video. We'll move on and cover functions in the next one, I think. I'll see you then.